Hey everybody, welcome back to No Jumper News. It's Adam22 here with your man AD. Let's get right into these stories. All right, so Quando Rando announced that he was set to perform at a club on Black Friday, but later stated that it got shut down at the last minute. He posted photos of himself with his crew to his Instagram, explaining to his fans why he would not be performing, writing, "The mayor and police squad of Macon, Georgia canceled the show tonight. Shit got me highly pissed off. I couldn't wait to rock out," literally. In a video later shared on Instagram, Quando and his crew seemingly blamed 600 Breezy for the cancellation. One of Quando's friends suggested that Breezy suggested the mayor to have the show canceled. This would have been Quando's first time taking the stage since Vaughn's passing earlier this month. As we previously reported, Quando recently addressed the shooting in his song End of Story, doubling down on his claims of self-defense. 600 Breezy took to Twitter to respond, tweeting out, "A whole ho ouchia." Since Vaughn's death, Breezy has openly been antagonistic towards Quando, basically threatening him to perform End of Story live. Some have accused Quando of lying about the cancellation of his most recent show, calling him out as they noticed the date stamped on the video was from 2018. After being called out, Quando later deactivated his Instagram. He popped up again on a friend's Instagram live stream, flashing his guns and claiming that he was in Chicago, seemingly causing more tension and implying that he did not have any upcoming shows. He closed the live stream with "Pull up" and "Free Lil Tim." In the No Jumper comments, 600 Breezy dropped his address and called Quando Rando a liar. "This bitch lies so much. 366 East 59th Street between Calumet and King Drive. We outside." Okay, so Quando's basically implying that his shows are being canceled because there are threats of violence coming in. Do you see this as realistic, that he's just not going to be able to continue to perform when he has certain people just, making threats and showing up? And we can imagine that if Quando were to perform in a lot of different cities in America right now, he would probably run into issues.
Yeah, even in Los Angeles, they cancel shows if they feel like something. I've seen a lot of 6ix9ine shows that were canceled in Los Angeles back when he was getting to it with Slim, so I can understand that situation.
Right, but that's kind of my question about LA is are there rappers who are so gangster that the LAPD actually cares enough to shut down their shows? Because you see that all the time in New York. If you're a gangster rapper, if you're actually publicly representing a gang, the cops take a very specific interest in making sure that you're not going to be performing in Manhattan and stuff. Have you seen that in LA?
I've gotten my own shows canceled because I'm supposed, you know what I'm saying? They say my affiliation. I know YG got a gang of shows canceled because of his affiliation as well.
Wow, that sucks.
Yeah.
Damn, I didn't realize that. Okay, so let's just play hypothetical. Say you're 600 Breezy and you have somebody who is basically responsible for taking out a close comrade of yours. How are you handling it on the internet? Do you think that 600 Breezy is kind of being out of line by making his desire to do something physical to Quando so public? Do you feel like this is an example of people living their life on the internet too much? Is this a situation where he would be much better off just keeping quiet? If there's something that needs to be done physically, he does it on the low. Do you support this sort of commentating going on?
I think he taunting him. He just, I guess, he's just stirring it up to make Quando go outside at the end of the day. But, the streets is going to be the streets. I ain't going to talk about too much because, Chicago and Atlanta, they got different politics. I don't know how they get down. I know how we get down in L.A. It's a different story.
Yeah, I think Breezy would be wise to not be living out his bloodlust fantasies on the internet. Not that they're fantasies, but, if you want to hurt somebody, I would just advise him, be careful. Don't let the world know exactly what you want to happen so directly, because if you were to ever be implicated or tied to anything, we could obviously see that being very, very bad.
They're gonna bring all that shit up for sure.
Okay, final story. Since his recent spiritual awakening, NLE Choppa has been consistently dishing out new advice to his fans on healthier living and enlightenment. Most recently, NLE Choppa expressed his concern for Famous Dex and took to Twitter to shed some light on Dex's situation, advocating for his label to step in and do right by their artist. "I've never been the type to be in folks' business, but at 300, y'all see Famous Dex obviously on drugs too heavy. Can y'all at least try surrounding that man around somebody with his best interests? Help dude out or somebody who already already is in his ear. Uplift, dude. He needing it. Over the years, Famous Dex's issues with substance abuse have been well documented. Dex saw the tweet and responded defensively, writing, "Shit, you worry about me? To be honest, as long as I'm here, I'm good. Shit, don't watch me. Watch TV." NLE Choppa responded, writing, "Just care, my boy, and I don't watch TV. I just want to see you as well as I know you can be, king. May God bless." Dex replied with gratitude, "Nah, it's all love, bro. We both kings. I just love to be me. Love you, bro. Never been the type to come at a motherfucker. I don't know, but all love, my brother. Stay blessed, you young god." Dex later addressed his fans directly on Instagram, stating he appreciated NLE Choppa for showing love. He cares. At least somebody cares. He didn't say nothing wrong. At least somebody cares. I just wanted to say I really appreciated the love. Okay, I appreciate Choppa's sentiment here in the sense that he's coming out and saying something that to me seems fairly obvious. Famous Dex is clearly on drugs and his label's not doing anything about it. And I mean, but the real problem I think is that the label doesn't seem interested in doing much with Dex in general. I mean, he put a project out, it didn't do shit. I seen he put a couple of music videos out. The views on the music videos were incredibly depressing. Like he put out a song with Trippie Redd, which you would think for Dex would be a big look. The views were not good. So, I mean, I feel Choppa in the sense that I've often looked at labels and thought, like, how do you have this guy signed to your label and he's involved in all this kind of bad behavior and you don't have anything to say about it? But then at the same time, I can't help but feel like NLE Choppa is kind of just sitting on the internet and just sort of extolling his opinion about somebody else being fucked up on drugs, which, you know, does the world want to hear that from NLE Choppa? It's like in hip hop, there's a very big premium placed on keeping your opinion to yourself and not really being in other people's business. I can't think of anything much more busybody-ish than sitting on Twitter and saying like, this guy who I don't even know, he's on drugs, blame it on the label.
I disagree in that sentiment because, you know, it's crazy because people can, if something was to happen to him, the first thing people say is somebody should have talked to him. Somebody should have made it public or tried to reach out. And I feel like with him not knowing him, that's his way of saying like, hey, I see you, bro. Like, I want you to get clean. I want you to be better. And I really feel like, especially with NLE Choppa's new spiritual awakening, I feel like he's really concerned for him and he's trying to lend out a helping hand to help him get better.
Well, the whole thing is like, number one, it's not a secret. Everybody can basically tell that Famous Dex is off mad drugs. This has been like a joke on the internet for years now. And then to also like point it to the label, it's like realistically, what do you think the label is going to be able to do? I mean, from my experience, the label typically doesn't really like get involved in that kind of thing. Maybe if you wanted to go to rehab or something, the label might help you out. I think that if Famous Dex were willing to go to rehab, that 300 might look at him as somebody that they wanted to invest in that way. Or maybe a couple years ago, they would have wanted to invest in him in that way, because it's kind of like you can't really be expecting the label to want to invest a bunch of money in your recovery when you don't even seem like you're that serious about the music part and the business part of your life right now. So for me, seeing Choppa sort of just like sitting there and just blame it on the label, it's like, we all know how this works. Like, I've had friends who are absolutely horrible with drugs, and the reality is that if somebody were to say that about me, like, how could you be friends with him when you know that he's a drug addict? It's like, I'm not going to be able to get him off drugs until he decides that he wants to get off drugs. Thanks. If he came to me and said, hey, I need X amount of dollars to go to rehab or whatever, then maybe that's a conversation. But the reality is, if somebody's a drug addict, they are not going to change unless they have hit rock bottom and they've really decided that they want to change. And then the reality is that even if they hit rock bottom and decide they want to change and want to go to rehab, they still probably aren't going to change. But at least then there's a chance of them going through these steps. I mean, in reality, we've seen Famous Dex say that he was gonna stop doing drugs a million times. I'm sure that at least a couple of years ago, when they were really putting money into Dex, I'm sure that the label suggested and made moves to try and get him to stop being so on drugs. But I don't know. To me, like, I fuck with Choppa and I fuck with his whole spiritual awakening, but I don't really, it doesn't seem very mannish to me to be sitting there on Twitter just sort of calling somebody out for drugs and then not putting it on them, but putting it on the label instead.
No, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't think that he was literally addressing the label. Maybe more like, I know A&Rs, a lot of A&Rs that are really invested in the artists that they're dealing with. It's like, you're just going to sit this guy and allow him to keep doing that shit? You know what I'm saying? It's messed up.
I've seen it happen over and over with labels like trying to get artists help. So I'm at least like a little bit more sympathetic to the label in the sense that I just don't really believe that 300 has a lot that they could probably do. You know, if Dex wants to get clean, I wouldn't be surprised if Dex had been to rehab and just got right back on the shit. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, for the label to really want to invest in you, they have to have some sort of hope that you're going to be a profitable business for them to be invested in. And as of right now, I don't really see them having that opinion about Dex.
I agree.
Okay, YouTube, thank you very, very much for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe. We appreciate you. We out.